we know the stats. 80% of the jobs in America filled by referrals. So you have left with 20%. And most of the, unfortunately, these federal laws, compliance HR laws, and state laws created a big mess. Oh, you got to post a job 2 weeks before, it's all this. I don't know if it's really helping anybody.
Well, it depends, right? But in a lot of cases, what happens is if they're taking somebody internally or they're taking someone through
Yeah, they already know who they
and
want to hire.
they post the job. I can't tell you how many people tell me they apply to 100 jobs and only hear back from 2, 3 companies. It's like you're applying to a job, you're not even getting a thing back that says thank you for applying. We've gone a different direction. You're just never. It's an abyss.
I'll tell you why people don't respond. There is a compliances. They could be you are pulled into lawsuit.
Right.
I think it's a part of, because the communication sometimes can turn on you against you.
That's true.
So companies are scared to do anything, right? It's a sensitive to somebody's. He's desperate. He needs his job, and he puts it. Then you want to help him to send a message. That message can turn into your side. So there is always how you see the world, how you can say. For me, like as you said, know people, talk to people, connect with people. Your local community is a big thing.
Yep.
If you are a person they like you, you'll get a job.
Well, and I think it's your local community. So it's things like Technology Council, it's things like Chamber, a whole bunch of other organizations. You can't belong to everything. You can't go to everything. So pick 2 or 3 groups and go to those
regular.
Because most of us only have one event a month.
Yeah.
So pick 3. You've got 3 things to go to a month.
Yeah.
One that does a breakfast, one that does a lunch, one that does a happy hour. And always go to those. And then you can drop in on other ones if there's a good topic. But the other thing is what is your industry?
Yeah.
And what type of industry groups, both locally and nationally, exist? I mean, the people who get really involved with, if they're a higher end like CIO and they get involved with SIM, they get opportunities because what happens is a headhunter calls the CIO at McDonald's and says, "Hey, we have this thing at this bigger company. I don't know what's bigger at McDonald's, but whatever." And he's like, "I'm not interested. I love my job, but you may want to talk to Brian or Mary." And so those things start happening. And so nationally, you have to get involved. So on the other side of my life, where I'm a professional speaker, I'm very active in the National Speakers Association. And I have been for 17 years.
Yeah.
And about 25% of my business as a speaker comes from referrals from other speakers.
Totally agree.
But the other part of it is that the learning, like when the pandemic hit, the whole thing shut down.
Yeah.
And the only reason I was able to recoup a lot of that business 5 years later was by watching other people and seeing other people. And so whatever your industry is, you need to be involved. And that's why, I think things like tech councils are important. If you're in tech, you should be involved with that. But there's also, if you're in a certain type of tech, if you're in fintech, there's a national organization who deals with companies that do fintech. You should be doing that too. So something local and something national. A couple of things local and something national.
And there are a lot of meetup groups too.
All kinds of meetup groups.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to your set of people does exactly the same.
Well, like I know a guy, he's my age, he's in his mid-50s, and he wants to recreate his career.
Yeah.
And so he realized he didn't have any peers, and he works in tech in another city, didn't have a lot of connections. And so what he did was he started a hiking group for tech professionals over 50 on Meetup.
I should go.
And what happened is the first time like 7 people came. Yeah. And the second time like 13 people came. Now, none of those people have helped him get a new job because it's only been twice. But over the course of a year, if he builds that to 30, 40 people, now he's the guy. And as he builds relationships, he can be like, yeah, I'm trying to change from, this big tech company to do some other type of tech marketing. Someone will be like, well, why don't you talk to my company?
Yeah.
And he knew that his people were people in tech over the age of 50 who were going to help him. So he just started a group for it.
Yeah. I'd love to be part of that.
Yeah. Well, it's not, you'd have to live in another city. So
I would say, too, that's like one reason, that Austin Tech is not at all falling off. Or it's every single day there's a meetup event here.
Yeah.
There's always someone famous talking about some technology that's just like mind blowing. That is very difficult.
There are a lot of podcasters in Austin now growing big time.
In fact, when you move to Austin, they just give you a podcast microphone. So start your show.
It comes at the DMV when you get
it. So you get your license and you are now a podcaster in Austin.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, but it is still kind of scary, right? Like to go out because you don't necessarily know like what people are going to think of you. That's one side of it. But then it's like, well, if we need to provide value in companies, I need to be honing my skill and getting better and better. But then you can't be the best at something if no one knows. That's just impossible, right? So you have to go out and you have to find that balance.
Well, you can be the best, but if nobody knows, it doesn't do you any good. If you're the best kept secret in tech, you're gonna go hungry.
Yeah, that's for sure.
As a company or as an individual.
So you have to find that balance, right? Like, okay, we're gonna, and especially with now, it's not like, oh, you need to get a degree, you need to go through these steps, you need to follow this career path, because the career path has kind of been thrown out the window a little bit. It's like you need to have that network, people need to know you, and you need to have successful projects that you can point to, and then people are gonna say, well, this guy's gonna bring value to my company.
If you're going to the career path and you're joining a group, they're doing projects. You're part of the project. What you're learning is the dynamics within the project, how each one complement to achieve a goal of the project.
Yeah.
That's all it is about. It's nothing more than. And another one scary things we have encountered, we talk so much with our team is, if you're taking a code from an AI, better you should understand what that means.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people, the biggest job future is going to have is somebody can decode AI's coding.
Oh yeah.
Because your skill set is here. The AI is coding at this level. How much Python expert you are, you're not going to replace AI Python coding.
No.
Because it's going to put all the permutations, combinations. Also, it's going to forethink that I'm going to solve that problem in the future. I'm going to build it now.
And if you're in things like finance, if you're in medical industry, healthcare, they can't rely on the AI. They need the coders that are here because they've got to double check for privacy, for HIPAA, for all these different things. Mm-hmm. And so there are jobs using the AI to be even more productive, but you've got to be able to understand the technology.
And they're even a little bit hush-hush. It's not like, oh, we have this beautiful AI job, we want to put it on LinkedIn.
Right.
It's like, we need the right person, they need to have experience, they need to know exactly what we're doing.
And, we talk about the fact that this is moving faster than anything I've ever seen in my life. And I've lived in Austin for 34 years, and I've been adjacent to the tech industry the whole time. I've never worked for a tech company, but I've sold to the tech companies, and now I run this organization. And over 34 years, we have seen the new thing. There was a book called The New Thing many years ago. And we've seen this comes in, it's new. This comes in, it's new. I remember when we went from a floppy disk to the little mid-size disk. And those only lasted like a year or two. Like all of a sudden, like I bought a new computer and had the mid-size disk, and I'm like, I am so modern. And then all of a sudden, we weren't even using disks, and we had the little plug, the
USB,
the little chip things, microchips. And so there was always the new things, and some of these technologies were released with a lot of fanfare, and then they were obsolete. Something new came in. The speed at which things have happened the last 12 months, and I think over the next 5 years, is going to be faster than everything we've seen in the last 30 years, which means that, you have to be learning all the time. And when people say, well, they want people with skills. Well, if somebody says, I want, a coder who can do this or whoever, with 5 years AI experience, well, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
unless you were doing research at UT or you were working for one of these companies that have been using this technology and LMs for a long time, sort of behind the scenes.
Even then, it's like using it, you wouldn't even have 5 years.
Right. Nobody has 5 years experience.
So that's why it's like a little bit like, where do you go from here, But one thing I like to look to always is history repeats itself. So like an example I always use is like the assembly line of Tom Ford. Because like when that happened, people were saying it's going to be a recession. Nobody's going to have jobs. Nobody's going to be able to work. But what happened? Like he built the Model T. Everyone bought one. There's a million more jobs.
Because of Henry Ford, there were more jobs than before the assembly line. And I think the same thing is true. I mean, we can look at this, you can look at everything. When the internet came out, it was going to disrupt everything. And all it did was create more opportunities.
Yeah, it's going to create more. I'll tell you one thing. The content we are creating through AI, the code we are creating through AI, the whole creation happening through AI, humans has to deal with this stuff.
Well, I met with a marketing guy the other day, and he was out of work. And I said, how do you think AI is going to change marketing, which is going to be one of the areas that gets changed a lot?
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, you're out of work. You're looking for a job. You know what would be a great idea is every day, 3 hours a day, You could just use AI to teach you how marketing, ask AI, how is it going to happen? Or take a class. And weeks later, he's like, I'm now, when he goes to interviews, he hasn't got a job yet, but when he goes to interviews, he's able to talk like an expert on the future just from 3 hours a day for several weeks. He now goes into an interview and he talks about the changes AI is bringing. And he said, everybody is commenting on the fact that he's so far ahead. So if you're young and you're wondering where your career is going to go, or if you've been laid off and you're wondering where your career is going to go, you dang well better be learning how it's going to affect, your industry. I'm looking all the time at how is it going to affect the nonprofit membership world. And, there's changes. There's things I might do, my board and I might do with ATC that are drastically different because the world is changing. I don't want to be ahead of the game because if you're wrong, but at the same time, you've got to stay on top of it and be looking at your industry, your skill set. How is it going to change it? And then all you have to be able to do is talk the talk a little bit better than the next guy. And that puts you in a better position.
Yeah, totally.
Because nobody has the experience.
No. How much open source code we have right now?
That's all.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? But I always tell in our team meetings is, did you read through the code? What this code does, what we can pick it up and recode it. I think these are the custom. That's where the skill set is going to be really, really powerful. AI is going to create what it is going to create, and we are always have that gap of intelligence because humans we think linear.
Yeah.
We think in our table. What is there in this table?
Right.
AI is going to think when it is going. It's going to think whole building.
There's another table upstairs. There's a table over there. Yeah.
And it's going to put a logic that human is not going to address it very quickly. It's going to take time to understand. What we're creating is a maze. How to untangle the maze is going to be a big, big challenge. Especially the projects I'm dealing with in the state of Texas is some of this code is old. You give it to AI, it's going to freak out how you're running this state, right? And then it creates something, you have no human to read that. You think so AI is going to come? Yeah, we are too early for AGI to come and solve every problem. We are not integrated. Enterprise is not inside itself is not integrated. Their project has silos. That is their biggest problem right now. They have different teams, don't want to share the data.
Yep.
Oh, I'll give you API. What API can do? You send a key. So,
well, taking this back to Austin, a lot of that Wall Street Journal article and others are like, oh, all the high-end AI stuff's taking place in the Valley. Well, it's true. The Valley has an advantage of size.
Yeah.
And now. But there are so many companies here in Austin that are using AI, that are developing AI, that are doing things that I think Austin is in a position that we're going to have some major breakthroughs on how we do some of these things right here. And that's why I think, all these articles that are negative on Austin, it's always people who were here 6 months or a year who hated it and left. Real Austinites are scrappy. They roll up their sleeves and they figure things out. And when I look at the entrepreneur set and the business set that's in Austin, people are here for a reason. They want to make it work, and they are going to do some amazing things. But if we remember, nobody has an advantage right now because it's all so new. Even when it comes to how are we going to change, the world of technology, it's not just up to the Valley. It's up to everybody. It's up to Austin. It's up to Phoenix. It's up to Nashville. It's up to Miami. It's up to all these places. And if we can start working together, the idea of the tech hubs competing, I think, is over.
Yeah.
I think now it's, especially because now you have remote work. It used to be if Diane started a company and 4 years from now she had 6,000 employees, most of those employees would have been in Austin. Now Diane can start that company and 5 years later, 6,000 employees, she's the only person in Austin. Is she really impacting our local community?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. No. So the way we have to look at things now is we are truly in that global world that we've been talking about for 2 decades. We're really living in it. And I think that what Austin needs to do differently is we need to come together and plant our flag for what we're good at and what we're doing. And we're doing so many different things. We're not just semiconductor and software anymore. We're fintech, we're medtech, we're AI, we're deep tech, we're space tech, we're everything.
Yeah.
And I think we need to plant these flags of when these groups work together, the collision of that is where the magic happens. And so I'm excited about where we're going, but I'm also very cautious because I'm starting to see fiefdoms appear and people who don't mix with these people. And that's what happens in New York and Valley. You get the little cliques and the little clubs. And when that happens, you're gonna have cliques. You're gonna have cliques and clubs, but if everybody's respectful and plays together, I mean, that's what Austin was 20 years ago. If you start getting people walled off, if somebody has to be king or the center of everything, that becomes an issue for the whole ecosystem. So we need to realize that it's not, how can a young entrepreneur pull a chair to the table? It's not a table. Austin should have 20 tables, and those tables, everybody should be able to self-select which table is right for them, but there should be seats somewhere for everybody. And that's what we need to do. Young entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs of color, women, people who've otherwise been marginalized. Austin is a city that's poised to really help those people start businesses and do things. And we're not doing as well as we could with that. So I think we need to lead with that as well.
Yeah.